Okay, good afternoon, folks. Hope everyone is well. Uh, okay, so market is due open. Sorry, I'm a little bit. I was just focusing on something. I wasn't paying attention. So my my payment from Apex came through. So I'll show you now. I do generally show you. There you go. So that's it there. So the last payment I applied for got declined. I kind of had it in the back of my head that it would. I accidentally opened a trade with 10 contracts on. I hadn't switched it over. So it just took overnight. So Plains paid it. So it should be in my account. It says for tomorrow. So that's $8,000. So that's a little better now. So we've had 8,000 plus another 6 off Traderify over the last week, so $14,000 this month, which is good because, to be honest with you, I haven't had a payment for 3 months. So 3 months, and then obviously October, so $14,000 divided by 4 months, basically. So minus at least a couple of $1,000 of expenses. So that's kind of got me a wage anyway. So okay, market is open, so we're ranging pretty much carried on from yesterday. So we had a push up, looked like a spike and channel, so maybe a couple of legs. We'll see if this moves up. So good morning, Karina. So let's have a look. See if this thing pushes up. I'm guessing it possibly will. Why do these accounts look the same? Let me just check. We got no news today. I'm unsure whether we have. No, we haven't. Okay, that's fine. Something's not right yet. Okay, that should be set on 4 days. That's okay. Okay. So they should look slightly different. They don't, which is a bit unnerving. They look almost identical. I don't know why. Let me just reload this. Okay, so scrub that. Clearly wasn't. We got a channel with 2 pushes up to a new high and then straight down. So Neo, how you doing, buddy? So does this look different? Why does it look the same? It should look different. Oh, it is slightly different. Yeah, there's 2 dojis there. We haven't there. Okay, so it is a little bit different. So channel down there. So we got a channel with a break, 2 pushes to a new high channel. So yeah, I mean, if we look yesterday really, and we take that line back, it's more or less just carried on a little bit lower. I mean, with that initial push up yesterday, sorry, day before yesterday, and then yesterday was just literally, it's about as range as it gets. And so whether we're going to continue more of this or not, it's hard to say. So I look a bit dull there. Let me just brighten myself up a wee bit. Your pay number increase. Yes, it did, mate. I do show people. It's important because you never know, really. You never know what people are telling you. So there's my email. You get it's paid by plane. Well, it is if you're, I think, international. It goes into a plane account, and then I get it directly going into my my Revolut account. So yeah, $8,000 and 6 from Traderify over about the last week. So I needed it, to be honest with you. I haven't taken a payment in over 3 months, so this kind of gets me back in the game a little bit. It's just been a tough, well, it's been a slow couple of months getting my accounts back. I just had that moment of weakness, but it's going to happen. But hopefully you learn your lesson. You will blow many accounts, but when you start to make a bit of money and you start to keep your accounts, I made money 5 months in a row. I think in the first 4 or 5 months, I did 33,000, and that was only from about 9 accounts. So it wasn't a huge amount. And then I think you get better and better at it, which I am. But then, sometimes you can have a little wobble. But once you've had that wobble a few times, I think you realize it just doesn't work, or you put something in place to stop it happening. I can't take any more than 2 losses, and my stop loss is locked, so I can only move it towards profit. Little Hammer, how you doing, mate? So, channel break, new low. Going to invite us to partying. I am going away this weekend, so I have just ordered myself a really nice bottle of scotch for the weekend. Where is it? Nice bottle of, that's it there. I've just had it. I've just ordered it. We have Sky TV, and I think if you recommend someone, you get a £50 voucher. So I've just ordered that 10-year-old bottle of Glenfarclas. I've had the 12-year-old and the 15-year-old before, so I'll be taking that away the weekend and enjoying that. That's for certain. So channel break, new low. Let's see what's going to happen here. Whether we break this, but it is at the moment just very much rangy. Now we've had 2 legs down, but we didn't quite get to the top. So whether or not this thing may be coming further down, it's hard to say, but you have to just treat it as a range at the moment. So most breakouts fail. It's just something's just not right about this. Daryl, how you doing, mate? Something's quite not right about this. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. I needed it. I really did. Sometimes you just need that lift, don't you? But to be honest with you, for the last 2.5 months, I've just played the game properly. I haven't done anything stupid. It's been a little, in fact, it's felt slower than it normally does. That's probably because in the past I've had the tendency to take risks and try and speed it up. But if you just sit back and wait for the trays and do nothing more, nothing less, it kind of works. That's an interesting bar, that is. Trouble is, it's 17 ticks. It has broken the lows, but do I know this is pushing in? My slight concern is this push up here. We've only got 2/3 of the way up, and that concerns me. So my worry is that we do something like this, maybe like that, or maybe like that, which means this thing could come down. And based on the picture I'm seeing at the moment, my concerns, I think, were warranted. Now, it may trigger there and give us a higher low, but I'm just not ready to get to trade just at the moment. Well, to go long, should I say, just in case. Now, yesterday was pretty much a range day. We were really going sideways. We started in this lower section and then kind of moved up to the top part for the rest of the day, but that's pretty much as it goes. So channel down. I always like 2 pushes. And I'll be surprised if that doesn't get stopped out. That would be my second push down. It is a... Yeah. This chart looks... What's the counter? Right, okay. They're more or less identical, those numbers. That's why, so I need to adjust that. So let's go to 3 days. See if that makes a difference. What are we now? 17. No, we're the same. How do I get that to change? How do I get that to change? It should change. It shouldn't all be the same. I like them at least 500 apart. Now, there is a second entry short there, and that may well come down. But as this is looking very rangy and we have broke the overnight lows, I just want to be careful here because this thing may push up. It's gone blank here. Place to load. Break at end of day. Still the same. How do I get it to change? Let's reload this side. Let's change this a bit, see if that helps. It's still the same. Why? Let's just change that, see if that makes a difference. Okay, the numbers are different there, but I'm going for 3,000, so let's change it back, see if that changes. I don't know why it's not different. I really don't understand that. So I've got break at end of day deselected. Let's select it and apply it, and then let's deselect it. Oh, it's freaking my brain out. This is. They're identical. That is weird. Why are they the same? They shouldn't be. Strange that is. These are more or less identical. The tick's the same. I can't get it to change. Usually it automatically changes. I've got break at end of day deselected. I've changed the days. Not that that makes much of a difference. Identical. Maybe 2030 out. I don't know how to change them. That's weird. Two legs down here. I'm guessing this is probably going to push up. I was tempted there, but it's a bit too early. It's only really a first entry. made a new high here, so there's always that possibility. Channel break, new high. No point having a second chart if it's the same. I don't know how to change it. That's weird. Listen, shush. There's no one there. Shush. Shush. Mezzaluna a couple of streams ago. What are your impressions of them? Well, so far, they sound okay. They sound almost identical to Traderify. The only slight concern I have with Traderify is, don't get me wrong, I love the idea that when you get a $3,000, you can take 2,000, but that only leaves you 1,000 left. Technically, 900 because of the drawdown finish at 50. So you've got to be careful then. You've only really got $900 to play with. So I think the less you've got, the more tendency you've got to take a risk to get it to grow quick. And that is exactly what I did on one of my accounts. And I ended up taking a loss. On the top right, the second chart. That's Uh, mm, 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 mm. Sorry, mate. I was just typing something. I was just trying to find out why I'm not getting the change here for some reason. I was just having having a slagging match with somebody, and a polite one, by the way. Uh, let's have a look. Kellyanne has a lot. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what Kellyanne does, to be honest with you, but I noticed Nutty was using them. So I had a little. I watched a video over the last couple of days. I can't remember what it was. Some guy who's doing it. But yeah, they're very similar to. I think almost identical to Traderfy. The only frustrating thing is the 90-10 split. Now, I thought you get the first $10,000. So when I got $6,000 and they deducted 10% off, I was like, it was a bit frustrating, but it is what it is. But what I will say is they're not for inexperienced traders, I'll say, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, if you've been trading, 6 months or something like that, I would honestly stick to the cheapest evaluations you can find and just do one at a time. But if you can make a bit of money and you can just get by, which I consider myself just getting by, then I think they're a better idea for two reasons. One, I think it's good to diversify. I think it's good to have a multitude. That way, if anything ever happens to one of them, you haven't got all your eggs in one basket and you're going to go down the pan. And also, when you pay a little bit more money, you do take a bit more care of it. So, as I've said a million times, the cheaper something is the less care you take. And it might sound a bit negative, but you need to treat them all the same. Yeah, I agree. But when something, you get 90% off and it costs you $16, you're naturally not going to take as much care of it. So for those two reasons, I think it's worth looking at it. But if you are relatively new and you haven't made any yet, don't throw your money at it because they're expensive. I think they're for the kind of next level traders. And when I say next level, I don't mean that in absolutely amazing. I mean, when you start to be able to get payments, I think that's a route that's worth taking. But if you're new, dipping your feet in the water, cheap as chips, as we say over here, cheap and cheerful. That's what you want to do. Don't throw away your money. You've got to be really careful about how much money you throw at this. And I can tell you that firsthand because I threw a lot of money at it, as most of you know. I had that attitude. If I chuck enough money, it'll work, and it doesn't. It does the complete opposite and makes your journey way more painful than it needs to be. So, what is going on here? Is there some kind of downtrend? I'm not so sure, or have we just pushed up and there's a little bit of uncertainty? We could have two legs, but there's no guarantee this is going to go up. What I will say is this is the highs of the day. The next swing was lower, previous swing lower to that, and so on and so forth. So the pattern is at the moment that this thing does seem to look like it's not getting that push up. So I'm just a bit cautious about where this thing's going. Now, we have had a break of this channel. Ordinarily you'd expect it to push up a new high, but the context is telling me I need to just, sit my hands at the minute or twiddle my thumbs and try and figure out exactly what's going on now. It does look like it's pushing up, but as I say, these previous swings are getting progressively lower. So you just got to proceed with caution. Uh, so 2 legs down. That's interesting. You've got to wait for a higher low, in my opinion. It is kind of a move up with 2 legs down. It's hard to say. As I said a minute ago, these swings, and even these two, the next one's lower. So you have to pay attention to that, I think. It's hard to say at the moment. We may get a second leg up. Actually, that is a second entry long stroke failure. But because of this, you've got to be a bit careful. So it could go either way. Something's telling me it's more likely going to go down and stop that out purely and simply because of this. Now, let's call that an educated guess. I certainly wouldn't bet money on it, but it is stacking up a bit. We had a push down below the EMA, and there is some longs possibly trapped there, but it's getting a little bit congested. So that is a lower high there. So trouble is, we got a leg up. We could make 2 attempts to go lower, and it could push up. So at the moment, me personally, I would just leave this alone because it looks like there's a bit of a double trap there. There's bound to be, with this break, there's bound to be some longs in there. If this triggers, there's bound to be some shorts there. So I would have said it's probably going to come down, certainly below there anyway. So there's a short there. And along there, how this is looking for me, that's the danger zone there. But I didn't want to get in here because it's a little bit stacked. Just a few little bit of sideways there, but so that did what I expected. It whether it's going to bounce here and push up 2 legs back, that may be the case. So I expected that to come down, certainly below there. It kind of just picked off that there. But 1, 2, 3, is there a triple test now? 2 legs back, possible triple test. Bounce, bounce. It's hard to say, isn't it? Second entry long, bounce, bounce, bounce. It's a tough one, that is. It's tempting. You know, we've got this move up and 2 pushes back. We're clearly bouncing off that level there. What's Bookmap telling us? Let's have a look. Yeah, it looks like it's going to go up to about 80. So it's very tempting, that is. I think the high low would be the safer bet. It is a second entry long. There's no arguing there. We have bounced multiple times. It's just a little bit of caution there. Bounce, bounce, bounce. As I say, these swings are getting lower, so you don't know whether it's going to come up a little bit and be lower than that one and come down. So just a bit of caution. Does look like it's working. I was very tempted. You can clearly see it's two little legs there. Yeah, there is 1 or 2 in it. So that's my concern. You could jump in on a limit order there.
Order filled.
God, I'm in way more than I should have been there. I want to get out of this.
Order filled.
That was silly. That is. 1 trade is still going. Why is my what's it not there? Where's my rhythmic? God damn it! I'm still in on 1 trade. Is it going up or coming down? It's going up, isn't it? I think. Come on, log in. Hurry up! Hurry up! Hurry up! Hurry up! Hurry up! It's going up. Come on. All right, hold on. It's not showing. Hold your horses. Should have waited there. That was a bit careless. Disconnect. 1 position open. I don't know why. It's not showing it. This is closed. It just jumped higher there. I shouldn't have got in like that, to be honest with you. It is a higher low there. Trouble is, you know, when you do something and you kind of, what did I do that for? I still will once in a while get a bit impulsy. I think it's caught in limbo. It's been caught by that. I like it, but is it starting to look? You know, when you kind of have those yes and hold back at the same time, and you kind of have you ever, you know, sometimes when you say two words, try to say two things at the same time, and it comes out kind of backwards. I do get that once in a while. That was very tempting. I'm thinking we've got 3 touches and it's a higher low. But when I got in, I got in about 3 ticks higher than I should have done. So I decided to get out, not because I didn't think it was going to go up, because the risk was just too much and I shouldn't have done it. Fortunately, I got, what did I get? A couple of ticks out of it, something like that. I got 2 ticks profit out of it, and rightly so, because give me a second. Yeah, where did I get in? Was it here or was it here? I can't think now. Have you a video on your backstory? Would love to know your journey. I'm a bricklayer for 31 years. Are you really? The goal being get out the next few years. Straight by the boat. Where you from, Scott? Scott Green. That sounds like a UK type of name. I don't make much in the way of videos, but I certainly could do something like that. I don't mind doing something like that. If I inspire people just to, you know, to try and want to change your life a little bit, then absolutely. I think things changed for me when COVID hit. I was working on a Bellway site. If you're from the UK, you'll know what a Bellway site is. I was working on a Bellway site in Shrewsbury, where I live. It was an old army barracks. And I just moved from one Bellway site to another. And it was a really cushy job that we're working from 7 till 3, I think. I'd literally started a couple of weeks because it was March, I think, lockdown. The money was good. It was a really cushy job. And I got military family. So going into that old army base and building houses just brought back real good memories. And then obviously COVID hit and everything changed. So I spent a lot of time at home. And then kind of one thing led to another. You need to live stream in Bricky Gear. Well, I say Bricky Gear. It's more just hard at and high vis, really. That's about as Bricky Gear as we get. Like, but yeah. Are you from Doncaster? Are you? I got you. So sort of northeastish way. Yeah, I was working on a Bellway site in Shrewsbury. It was a cushy job. Money was good. I think it was about $220 a day. Bearing in mind that was 4.5, 5 years ago. It was $220 a day, which is pretty good then. It was a cushy job. And as I say, I was working from 7 till 3. We started a bit early and we had one 30-minute break. And what I liked, I could get and pick my daughter up, so it was ideal. But it was a really cushy job. I think I'd been there. I was just there on my 2nd week. And then obviously Boris came out with the stay at home and a load of sites shut. So I was kind of out of work. But I done something called matched betting. Now, most of you probably won't know what that is, but it sounds like gambling, but it's not. What it basically is, there are half a dozen companies in the country that supply the software, and you sign up to a subscription. It's about £20 a month. And what it is effectively, if you sign up to the online bookmakers in the UK, probably the same wherever you go, they'll give you offers. So what they do, typically, they'll say, bet £10 of your own money and we'll give you a £30 free bet. So you sign up to a betting exchange like Betfair, and you sign up to a bookies, and you put a £10 bet on, and then you go onto the betting exchange and you do something called laying the bet. and it's betting against the outcome. So effectively, one cancels the other out. If you win on that one and lose on that one, or win on that one, lose on it, you don't win and you don't lose. But then you get the free bet, and that's when you use this software provided by the company, and it gives you a match, and it will say bet on this, bet on that, and so on. And you make typically about 75% of the profit, the free bet, and then you go on to the next one. And I did that for a couple of years, and I made about 8,000 at it. And at the time, when you've the only time you've ever taken bets with a bookie is when there's offers on, because every bet you make a profit. They start to stop the offers. And I heard people at the time talking about Betfair trading sports bets. And as soon as I obviously put trading into the search bar on YouTube, trading came up, and so on and so forth. And so it's kind of accidentally, really. Russell, how you doing, buddy? Don't monkey with your trades. Yeah, to be fair, I'm glad I monkeyed with that one, because I'd have got stopped out. Can't remember whether I got in there or there, in all fairness. Oh, I did get in there. But I got in too late, about 3 ticks too late. So I wouldn't have got stopped out. It would have worked. So I got in there, or wouldn't it work? So, and I'd have still been in it now, but it would have to get to there. So, it will work, I think. Anybody hear that trumpet? Anybody hear that trumpet in the background? It's, what's it? Any old iron. It's the what's? It's, gypsies coming around picking up bits of old metal. But yeah, that's kind of how I started, really. I searched, and the first guy I come across was called Andrew Lockwood, who was a currency trader from London. He'd worked in the London Stock Exchange, kind of started during the 80s, when it was all kind of done on the floor, with all hand signals and the coloured jackets and that. And then he worked for some big city investment places all over the world. He spent about 5 years out in Singapore. And then I think early 2000s, when things went more computerized, he started training from home, and he started like a little training program. I think it worked out about £300 per 6 months, which was pretty reasonable, I think. But what I liked about him, he spoke very clearly. He was very easy to understand, and he taught you right from a complete beginner, breaking down what a candlestick is, how it works, and so on and so forth. So it was for complete beginners. And then it just kind of manifested from there, really. I've never liked working for people. The bricklaying, you are kind of you're something called CAS, which means you're more or less self-employed, really. You work for a company, they pay you, and then you sort of claim, you pay 25% or whatever it is, and then you sort of claim your tax rebate at the end of the year, or April, or whatever it is. So you are more or less self-employed. There's plenty of work around for bricklayers, or there was. I don't know what it's like now. I haven't done it for 4.5 years or so, 4 years, something like that. But this is getting a little bit choppy now. We had 2 legs down there, so that trade, would it have worked or not? I got in probably here, so it wouldn't have hit my 3 points. Having said that, once it starts to go sideways, I think that's a good example of scratching a trade when it does start to go like that, because when it does, as most of us know, when it does start to go sideways, it can be a bit unpredictable then. So depending on what you go for, that wouldn't have worked for me. So the good thing is I had plenty of opportunities to get out. Sometimes it'll trigger you and come down and mess around down here, and it doesn't come back. But I had plenty of opportunities there. Once it had come down a few times, I could have brought my stop up to break even and a point or something like that. You don't always get that opportunity to get out. But in all fairness, it was 2 legs down, and it was a second entry long. So if you'd have scalped for 2 points or less, it would have worked. But as I say, when it starts to chop around like that, it can be a bit unpredictable. Usually when it does that, I think for the most, it's probably a good idea to get out of it. If you're scalping for a point, I don't think it's ever worth getting out of a trade in all fairness, because it's such a small, now this could be a fail breakout. Trouble is, as I say, this swing lower, this swing lower, this swing lower, it's still giving us that picture that this thing is struggling to get up. Now, do I really want to go long into something that's clearly struggling to go up? It is clearly a little range. Most breakouts of these fail, but my gut feeling is it's so tempting. Do you know
Order
what?
Order submitted.
filled.
It's worth taking, not for a huge amount. Just to that EMA, I think. Let's maybe just take a bit. I don't even like it. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Order filled.
Order filled.
I don't like it. The risk is too much. My out. Yeah, I got a little bit off it. The risk is too much, I think. So I was looking at this. We push down into a range, and often we go down, across, and down. But because we're making these lower lows, excuse me a sec. Yeah, good reason to get out there. The trouble is, at the moment, I got mixed signals. We push up, we go down and across and down, and then up. Now, most breakouts fail, but because this is losing momentum, I decided to get out that. I'm glad I did, because it would have got me. Yeah, exactly. So, what I will say is sometimes it's easy to get into a careless state of mind. It happens once in a while for me. I seem to take trades easier than I think I should. I don't quite know why it happens, but I think it's when you're getting mixed signals. As I mentioned earlier, it's like, sometimes when you try and say two things at the same time, and it comes out a bit gobbledygook. So I think that's what I'm doing. So yeah, the market's telling me it's swinging down. I see a channel. We push down, across, and down, which we did to there. So I thought it'll probably push back up to the EMA. Hence, I was just going to go for a 1.5, but it didn't do that. And not only that, the risk was a little bit more than I would have wanted. So at least I got something out of it anyway. So, leg and a leg, push up. See, same again, down, across, and down, broke the lows. Very tempting to go long there, but we have got two nice legs down. Trouble is, we are losing this momentum. So we've got a channel with a break, two pushes to a new low. So how far is this going to come up? That's the trouble. So that's kind of the failed breakout I probably should have looked for. That was a bit premature, in all fairness. Having said that, bounce, bounce, bounce. You could argue there's a triple test there. So we got a little channel there with a break at a new low. Bounce, 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 triple test. We pushed up into the range. You know, you could argue, why didn't that work? So I'm now going to bring this down. So 1 touch, 2, 3. I like that. So, if no one was around earlier, that's my Apex. I know the first one I put in for, the payment I put in for was declined, and I pretty much had an idea it was going to. I made a mistake with too many contracts, but this just took overnight. This was cleared yesterday, so $8,000. So that'll go into my Revolut account. It says by tomorrow. It's usually a bit quicker than that. So over the last week, I've had this 8,000 plus 6 from TraderFi. So that's I'm going to say that's kind of my best month. Having said that, I didn't get paid for 3 months, so I can't really count that as just 1 month. So that's more divided over the last 3 months, to be honest with you, or 4 months. Thank you, mate. The trouble is, see, when you start to follow the rules and you start to see things happen, you get that kind of realization that if I do things the right way, it does work. And that happened to me kind of the end of last year, and then I had those 5 months in a row. I was making money out of the accounts I had, you know, between $500 and maybe $1,500 per month per account. And I had a couple of bad days for one reason or another. Just moved my stop just once, a touch, and price came towards it. And I think I was in around about 400. And the trouble is, once you start to panic and you start to see yourself going in the red, you ideally want to avoid that because the emotions get a lot stronger then. And in a majority of cases, it doesn't end well. And that's exactly what happened. I moved it again, and then I was in by $800. And for me, at that point, it was all or nothing. I just hoped it would turn around and give me a second chance. And once in a while it will do, but mostly it won't. And then I ended up losing about 12 accounts. I think I lost. I was absolutely gutted. But, you know, you just kind of need to process it and pick yourself up. You know, there's nothing you can do about it. So usually it takes a day or two just to sort of go through that little bit of frustration and process it. But fortunately, I'm lucky in the sense that I can have a few scotches, have a chat with my wife, and make a positive change. You know, you can't change what's happened. You just have to try and, you know, put something into place and you know, key yourself up to move forward. And I did, and I said, I'm not going to mess around anymore. I'm just going to have to follow these, you know, follow the system, play the game as it's supposed to be played. And I did. And it took 2.5 months to get the accounts to 3,000 to 4,000. Unfortunately, when you start with a prop firm, you start on zero. So you have to make money before you can make money to make money, if that makes sense. You know, whereas, so you start from zero, and when you start from zero, you've got nothing, so you've got nothing to lose. So the tendency is to blow those accounts. But, you know, I took it slowly and steady. I didn't rush it. You guys know I don't take a huge amount of trades. I probably got out of a lot that went on to, you know, to make the full profit, but I still managed to get between 3,000 and 4,000 in 2.5 months. So, you know, even doing it the right way, it feels like it takes longer, but all these little bits do mount up. So when you've been there once and you've played the game, you know, then you can do it again. And that's when your sort of self-belief and confidence, you know, start to allow you to do things the right way. For the life of me, I don't know why it's taken this long to get it through my thick skull that if I just play the rules, which I've been told a million times, but why didn't I do it? You know, why did I still mess around? Unfortunately, that's emotions. You know, we kind of, some people are just focused. You know, some people, you know, the type of people that can get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, run 5 miles, have a shower, have a green smoothie. You know, those type of people who just focused. You know, whatever they do, they seem to do well. There are people that can do that. I'm not one of them, unfortunately. I have got certain qualities when it comes to not giving up, and when I want something. But you know, I have cut corners in the past, and so you know I have that little bit of a weakness. Speedy, how you doing, mate? Lack of patience gets most. Yeah, it I think it's strange, really, because we know what we should do, but when it comes to doing it, it's a different story. And that's unfortunately the emotions that there's not many jobs that I can think of where not only can you not get paid for your work, you can lose a significant amount of money. I've never done a job where, you know, every job I've ever done, I know come Friday I'm going to get paid. It doesn't work that way with trading. It's very unique. It's very unique. There's not many things like it. So I think that's why it's so tough to, you know, that's why they have a massive failure rate. It's not because people aren't capable. It's just people do it for a little while, lose a chunk of money and think, screw this. There's got to be easy ways to living. But if you do stick it out, then the potential for trading is great, not only in what you can earn, but just the amount of free time and self-control you have over your own lives. You know, especially if you've got kids or, you know, family and that, you know, half the time trying to get time off for parents' evening or when your kids are ill, you know, your employees half the time, they don't give a toss, do they? As far as they're concerned, you come into work or we'll get someone else. But you've got such a lot of freedom. There is no other job like a trader that if I'm financially okay, I can say, I'm taking 3 months off and I'm going to travel the world. And I can come back tomorrow and my job will be sat there waiting. There's no other employment like that. You know, even if you're self-employed with your own business, if you disappear for 3 months, you'll lose customers. You know, if you're working for someone else, you can't just say, I'm taking a month off because I'll sack you and get someone else. But with this job, you've got earnings for life. You can come and go as you please. If you want to take the day off, it's very, very unique what you can do, but you need to go through that learning curve and spend that time to learn to do it. And if you stick at it and you've still got that desire, you know, it can be done. You don't need to be some kind of gifted genius. Christ, I'm far from that. All you need to do is to not want to give up and have the passion just to get up and do it every day. Not everyone has that. You know, some people will do it for a bit, think, oh, I don't need this hassle in my life, and you know, they'll walk away, and that's okay. It's not for everyone. Be my first customer. To be honest with you, mate, I'd never ever teach people to trade or try and even attempt to make money from people. For one, I don't want the commitment. I like to have the freedom. And for two, I had so much free help from other people. You know, there are people I still turn to nowadays. I still talk to Marco and Dan on, you know, at least once a week and get a bit of advice or something like that. So as far as I'm concerned, when you're in this little world of, you know, traders or patch traders, it's about helping each other out. You know, I was helped right from day one by experience, guys more experienced than me. And then when you kind of get a bit more experience, you help the kind of newer guys. So I don't want to make money out of people because, you know, so many people gave me their spare time and advice that I don't think it's right. Now, you know, if someone's like Max been trading 25 years, I've got nothing against them. But there are traders just like me, like Wilson and Joe, who do charge people, and quite a bit in some cases, and I don't agree with it, to be fair. Uh, I don't agree with it. For me, it's kind of, you've just managed to get yourself profitable, and now you're making money out of newer people. I don't like the feeling of it. So just use me as a trading buddy, really, just someone to save you sitting in a room by yourself. See what my opinion is and see what your own opinion is, and then, two heads are better than one, kind of thing. Time frame, that's number one for me. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. How to make money when I... Yeah, see, my daughter's 17. She suffered with ADHD and really severe anxiety. And it really started for a lot of kids from COVID. For youngsters, she was kind of just a young teenager then. Reading, seeing the news, you couldn't avoid it, could you? Seeing the news everywhere about how many people are dying all over the world, and told you've got to stay in. It's a scary place. And then, when your kids are young, you sort of, a day a week nursery, and you slowly get them used to, being able to function without, their parents there. And then obviously COVID, everyone told it's not safe to go out, and they kind of didn't leave the house and the family for a few months. And, for youngsters who don't understand how things work sometimes, it's hard enough for adults, but for kids, it affected a lot of kids. So for me, being here in the mornings to help get us, well, she missed such a lot of school because of the anxiety. It was that bad. So if I was working for another company, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I wouldn't have been able to commit the time. Either me or my wife would have had to give our jobs up. So the freedom you have, it is great. When I was bricklaying, and then I did some driving years ago, and then went back to driving HGV when I started trading, because I was trying to keep a bit of an income coming in. Some days I was starting work at 4:00 in the morning. Through ice and snow and all this. Oh, it's horrible. I love the fact that I haven't got to get out of bed at the crack of dawn anymore. So the freedom and the choice you've got, it's like no other job. It really is. Back in Thomas Wade. Yeah, I think Thomas Wade, I think he does charge. I think it's something like $100 every 3 months, which I think is quite reasonable. And you get his academy, and you get his Discord. I don't pay for his Discord. He allowed me to become part of it. And I did say to him, if you want me to put, something on my screen, a little advert, I'll happily do that. He helped me, I'll help him. It's about helping each other, isn't it? So, but I'm not interested in charging people. I'm just like you guys, just trying to make things happen. That's all. But I have my fair share of tough times as well. If you're going to teach people, you need to really know what you're doing. And not only you need to know how to trade, you need to be able to be well in control of your emotions, because there's nothing more embarrassing. I know it happened with Wilson a few times. He ended up blowing his accounts. Well, if you're blowing your accounts because of the emotions, that to me doesn't look good if you're charging people to watch you. You know what I mean? So Joe is a Zen. One thing I like about Joe is he's very calm. He's just naturally calm. And I think if you like that, then that is a big plus. It's a big plus for traders. I'm not really what I would consider a calm person. I'm quite a wired person. My brain kind of feels like it works at kind of 1.5 speed. So I'm not really a calm person. I do have my moments. But I kind of talk quick. I do quick. You want to see me lay bricks? I can just lay bricks quicker than anybody, because I can't go slow. I remember when I was learning to bricklay, people kept saying, slow down. Not because I was trying to lay them quick. It's just naturally how I work. Everything tends to be, at a faster speed. But he is really calm, and that is a great attribute for a trader for certain. Doesn't, yeah. He doesn't, does he? And I think that's the right way, because I don't take a lot of trades. And what I will say is, when you take less trades, you make more money. Now, I'm not saying a professional trader who's been trading for 20 years, who takes a lot of trades, it's a bad idea. It depends what you trade and how you trade. I mean, if you're making 20, 30 micro scalps a day, then you're going to take a lot of trades. But I suppose on average, I probably average something like maybe 4 to 6 trades in a week. I mean, I've took 2 today. I got out of both of them. I think the first one, I remember the first one went on to work. I don't know if the second one did. I don't think it did it? I can't remember where I got in now. I think it was here. I think I got in here, but I got in about there, a few ticks. So you'd have got 2.5 points. You'd have certainly got 2 points, but I go for 3. Now, if I'd have gone to the top there, it would have worked. So my intention wasn't to ride it to the top, wherever it was. I took something else. Can't remember what it was now. Can't think. My head's gone blank. But no, ordinarily, I don't take a lot of trades, to be fair. So we've got a channel down there. There's a first leg up. Now, that may come straight down like this, but I'm going to hold on. Now, there may be a channel like that, but as we've pushed out the bottom into a separate channel, I'm going to leave it. This, to me, looks, as I was saying, it's clearly losing traction, and then we drop. So if we can get a second entry short here, I would have a go at that.
Order submitted.
So there's our first one. If we can get above here and get a bearish bar, it's not a huge channel, so I wouldn't expect a massive break. So I'm really annoyed that this chart is the same. So we need to push above that, really. Scott, how you doing? I've been following Mark Walton. Went from hourly to daily charts and found less. There's a lot to be said for that. I've heard quite a lot of people said if you go for a bigger time frame, trading's easy, or easier, should we say. I will say, when you're trading fast moving charts and getting out for a few points, it is quite fast moving, and it's quite stressful as well. So I have kind of considered maybe I should look at some, maybe a 15-minute chart or something like that, and seeing if I can trade it. Mac will say you can trade any time frame with Pats. I have kind of considered it. I don't think it's a bad option just to look into. I always like looking at other things. I don't go from one strategy to the next. I read at an early stage that's something traders do, so it's one thing I avoided. And to be honest with you, about 98% of my time has been stationed around Pats, with the exception a little bit with the Penguin style of trading, which is almost identical, but it's more a slightly blown out version. Big Renko. Yeah, so you trade Renko charts, do you? Yeah, see, Renko charts kind of look more appealing, don't they? You don't get the same noise, but like with anything, nothing's ever quite as easy as it seems. You've still got to follow a strategy, and you've still got to follow the rules. So yeah, sometimes you think, wow, that looks easy. Some things that look easy, it's never as easy as you think. When it comes to trading, there's no easy way of trading. See, we haven't made a new low yet. 2 legs up. That's tempting. But it's a doji. It's a different bar here, so it's tempting. It's not a huge risk, that. See if we get a lower high. It is 2 legs up. I didn't like that, but here it looked better. That's very similar to a penguin trade. We've got a channel down, 2 clear legs up. Trouble is, we've had a break and we've made kind of 1 tick off a matching low, so it could push up. I don't think it will. It looks like 2 legs to me. You can't confuse that as a channel. It would be something like that. That doesn't work for me. So a lower high is not a bad option, I don't think. How long have you been learning? Is that a lower high? Bear me just 1 second, mate. I started learning to trade 5 years ago next month. It's very tempting, that. But it's not a lower high, unfortunately. As tempting as it is to jump in there, I'm going to refrain because although it kind of looks like it does. So yeah, I started, it'll be 5 years ago next month. It was in November. My wife bought me a book and I downloaded MT4, I think it was, MetaTrader 4, and started to learn about trading. Learn, from complete beginners. Trouble is, when you are a complete beginner, you know nothing. I didn't even know this was called a candlestick, let alone what it tells us. But it definitely shocked me how hard it is. But having said that, if you want to become a doctor, it's going to take you 5 to 7 years, isn't it? I think. And you think, yeah, but that's a doctor. But this looks to me like it's very tempting. This thing is, it's a bloody big risk. Something about this that's making me just be a bit cautious. So put it this way, if you get to be an above an average trader, you earn way more money than, most doctors will. Mac will talk about doctors and stuff like that. And I thought, well, how can it be? You're only looking at a chart, clicking a button. How difficult can it be? But it is. There's nothing I can do at the moment, unfortunately.
Order canceled.
Look like it's pushing down. It's clearly 2 legs up. Unfortunately, the lower high, I didn't like that stem. Let's see if we get a failure here. Nope, the bar's no good. I don't know why I can't get this second chart. Let's just apply that and then take it off. So if you'd have taken that short there, which I wouldn't have done, you'd have just got stopped out. It's just too risky, that is. It's too close to the lows. But when you knew, the tendency is to just want to take it. But that little stem there, and the fact it's close to the lows, I left that alone purposely. And rightly so. It went down maybe less than a point and turned, it would have stopped you straight out. 1, 2, 3. This could possibly be a triple test. 1, 2, 3. Trouble is, look at the size of the bar. Not finished yet. I've been trading for almost 3 years and I've never got paid. When did I really first get my first payment? When I started. Now, let me be honest with you. I did take some payments, but I assure you they were not out of skill. They were out of luck. They were out of taking bigger risks and trying to get lucky. Now and again, you are going to get to a payment. So don't confuse that with I'm a better trader than you and I had the skill because I got paid before you. It wasn't. It was because the reason you haven't got paid is because you're more likely being sensible. I took stupid risks, so I guarantee it cost me a lot more money than it cost you. So don't think in any way I'm a better trader than you because I got paid earlier. It wasn't because of that. It's because I took stupid risks. This to me looks like it may possibly, I was going to say reversing up. We've had a break. 2 attempts to push down. This could reverse up. So, yeah, it's a tough one, really. It's so much about how much time you put in, whether you trade your own accounts, whether you trade prop accounts. It's hard to know, without really knowing someone, why you may not have had a payment yet. Some people may treat it as a hobby and do 2 or 3 hours a week. It really does take time, I got to say. So I think more importantly than not is you need to be very careful about how much you spend. I had the attitude of if I throw enough money at it, I'll get where I want to be. It doesn't work out that way. All it does is makes your journey way more miserable than it needs to. That's what I'm doing. I'm just trading consistently every day with the same rules. Yeah. I tell you something though, mate. It's impossible for you to trade every single day and not get better. So let me ask you this. What is your main problem that is causing you from not getting paid? Is it because you're not following the rules and trading, or is it because you're taking big risks? So are you doing things the right way, or are you taking big risks? When I say big risks, going on tilt, doing things the wrong way. Because, it's okay saying, yeah, when I'm trading right, I make money, but then when I take a loss, I go on tilt and blow my accounts. Unfortunately, the emotional side of it is by far the toughest to overcome. But let me tell you this. The reason it's hard with emotions is because you're not used to those emotions. Emotions that you get in trading, we don't have every day. You don't have those fight or flight responses to very, very few things in life. I'm trained like Thomas Wade. Yeah. See, it's hard to know without knowing what your discipline's like and knowing, do you go on tilt? You know what I mean? Do you do things that way? All I can say is just keep trying. It does take time. See, I've been doing it 2 years longer than you. I got my first payment at about where you are now, but I'm telling you now, that was luck, as was most of the others up until maybe 8 or 10 months ago. So they did a poll in the Facebook group. How long did it take you to become consistently profitable? And it was between 4 and 6 years. So I'd say you're doing okay. You're still relatively in the early days. Unfortunately, you may think, oh, I've got another year or two before I start making money. But that's okay. Because when you do start to make money, you'll damn well deserve it, because you'll have put in 4 or 5 years of hard work to get to where you want to be. And when you start to make money and you start to follow the rules, you do get that overwhelming realization that, wow, when you do what you're supposed to, you do start to make money, and it's a nice feeling. And I will say that I went for a stage of feeling depressed. I went for a stage of drinking a little bit more than I should have done. I went for a stage of just feeling down and out of control, and that I was gambling, and it was a horrible feeling. There's nothing worse than having 5 accounts, getting them up to $1,500, getting into a mess, taking too much of a bigger risk, and ending up blowing all your accounts. And when you go on tilt, sometimes you lose your accounts quick. Sometimes you can be on tilt for an hour. And I've stepped away from the charts with my heart beating like crazy for about an hour. And it's a horrible, sickening feeling. It feels like you're addicted, you're out of control. It's a horrible, horrible feeling, but it does go away. I don't get it anymore. I enjoy trading now more than I've ever done. So by getting used to those emotions and having them as an everyday part of your life, they do start to become more normal, if for want of a better word. It's horrible. It's painful. It's horrible. It's sickening. It really makes you feel sick. You work so hard, build your accounts up. One thing goes wrong and that's it. It's like falling off a cliff. All of a sudden, 1 minute, everything's going great. You're doing really well. You're saying to your wife, accounts are growing nice. It won't be long. And within a space of 15, 20 minutes, everything's gone and it's horrible. But the more times you have that feeling, your brain will just start to slowly change. You won't allow yourself to be punished that many times for a long period of time. You know, some of the best ways of describing it are things that I've done in my life. One of them was when I was young and I first went to boxing classes. I was about 13. I've been going for a couple of 3 months, I think, until the coach, or whoever he was back then, threw a pair of gloves at me and said, "Get in the ring." And I was okay. I was quite excited until I got hit. And then it was like blind panic. But then you get more experienced guys going in there. I mean, you see professional boxers, they don't lose their temper. They're controlled. They can get hit tremendously, but they're in control. Now, that fight or flight that people like you and me would feel if we got into an altercation on a street, it's because it doesn't happen every day. But when you go through those emotions every day, they start to become normal. And skydiving was something I did when I was younger as well. First time I threw myself out of a plane, I almost physically shat myself. I was thinking of everything, how I can get out of it. But once you've done it a couple of 100 times, it starts to become normal. So it will slowly go away, but it does take time. And it doesn't happen overnight. So it's very hard to kind of get that realization that, am I actually getting better? You know, you will ask yourself the question many times, shall I give up? I certainly did. But after a couple of days of feeling miserable, I seem to have come back with a kind of renewed sense of, let's give it a go again. So I think I was just lucky. I don't think it was because I had that, massive amount of drive. I don't like to fail at stuff. I don't like to give up. Because I think something's too hard. Don't get me wrong. If I've got to get out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and go for a run, screw that. I'll give up every time. You know what I mean? But I'm quite lucky in a sense that I do kind of want to keep coming back because I understand the potential. Yeah, it's not. I think it's nice to hear these words because we all know what it feels like to feel shit, basically, don't we? We know what it feels like to fail. We know what it feels like to blow another account. It's a horrible feeling. And you feel like you're on your own, which I think it's a good idea to talk about because you think it's just you, but it isn't. It's another good reason that girl I brought on yesterday, she talks a lot about what she goes through. So many people won't say they've had losing trades. So many people will only post charts with winners on. You don't see what goes on in the background. Some people are embarrassed to say, I'm not. Because it does make you feel better when you realise it's not you. And when you see other people having success and they told you how difficult it was for them, and the fact that you just have to keep trying and it slowly gets better, it does give you that little bit of a kind of spiritual lift, doesn't it? Because it's not many things in life that you can fail that many times but still have that belief that it is going to work. When you've blown 1,200 evaluations, it's very hard to get it through your head that this still could work. So it is important to listen to other people who've failed because you realise then it's not just you. I'm not sure what's going on here. So, but one of the things that helps me now I am getting better with those emotions is the ability to stay out of a trade if it doesn't feel right. You know, I'm looking at a certain picture here, and I've seen this picture before. And if it worked lots of times, the picture would feel good. If I got trapped, the picture would feel untrustworthy. There's something about it I don't like. And it's that kind of experience and gut feeling that you build up in time. You can just kind of look at something and thinking, there's something about this I don't like. And you need to listen to that, that kind of thoughts, those thoughts. And then when you listen to them and they would have triggered you and stopped you out, it's a nice feeling. Then you realize and you're starting to learn. And trading starts to become much more enjoyable. I have no emotions when I trade. Should I stop trading? I have no emotions when I trade. Should I stop trading? I don't think you can ever have no emotions, can you? Mind you, if I was risking $1, I probably would have no emotions. I kind of read something somewhere, and it said every trader, professional or not, has a certain amount of emotions. They're just good at managing it or putting things into place to mitigate making, stupid mistakes. There's always emotions when it comes to money, unless, as I say, you're only risking $1 or something. Channel break new low. That's tempting to go short there.
Order
filled. Like that. Channel break new high. Big bearish bar. Oh, that's a big risk. $450. I'm getting out of this. If it'll let me. I don't think it will. No, do I take a loss? Manage loss, or do I leave it? It's a big loss, this. I don't really want to lose this much, to be fair. Channel break. 2 pushes to a new high. Big bearish drop. I don't like this. I think this is going to get me. It's the first actual proper loss I've had for a while, this is. I want out of this. Now, do I take a managed loss? I think I will.
Order filled.
I've purposely taken a bit of a loss there. I might have saved myself a few ticks. Hold on a minute. My PAs are still in. What is going on here? No, they're not. I don't know what's going on here, but this is... It's showing these accounts, so let me just close this and open it. Disconnect. It says I've got 3 open positions, but I haven't. Why is it not reconnecting? Oh, it is slowly. Oh, no, it did close. That's okay. Yeah, it wouldn't have worked. It would have stopped me out for a tick, so I got out there. So, on that note, I'm going to finish, actually. Your bars look different. Yeah, I brought that down, actually. I should have left that, actually. But, so, you can withdraw for 25. 25, I think you can take... That's a good question, actually. I'm not sure. I've never done it, to be honest with you. I've never done it. You'll have to look into it. The lock stop losses. He just moves his take profit like crazy. Yeah, possibly. Well, to be honest with you there, I realised this was going against me, so I got out. I saved myself a few ticks, I think. So it's one of those things, isn't it? So I'm going to leave you guys there. So I've took a loss there. It's the first proper loss I've had for about a month, actually. So There you go. So I'm going to leave you guys to it anyway. So best of luck. I'm going to go and do a few. I'm going away Friday, by the way. I'll be away Friday and Monday. I'm just taking a long weekend away. So I'll leave you folks to it. So have a good day. And I'll be back tomorrow and we'll do it all again. Bye for now.